Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Vernon Jones. Glad that you are here with us on our weekly education circle conversations here for Faith Bridge. We're excited to be here tonight with you. Have some amazing guests that are going to be joining us to talk about a lot of things. As I say, all things principles, right? Everything that principals are dealing with right now. These guys are some rock stars who can give us some insights. Principal Nivan from Maxwell Elementary School, ECE 5 school that is doing great work. And then Principal Eric from Prep Academy, which is doing 6th through 12th grade, also doing great work. He'll be joining us later. But let me just say this, man. If you know a principal, if you know a teacher right now, send them flowers, send them candy, whatever you can do to encourage them. It's that time of year where we are transitioning from, some are transitioning from remote learning to hybrid models. Some are transitioning from remote learning to actually welcoming children back into the school as early as tomorrow, right? And so they are in planning modes. They're doing this, a lot of them, by the seat of their pants. They've never been in a pandemic. They've never been in this situation where they're balancing serious health needs, not just for students, but also for their staff, for themselves, juggling all these balls. And I'll let them tell you more about it, but I know that it is definitely some of the hardest work that is going on in education right now. So want to just, hear from them, let them speak into the space, and let us learn from them about how we can get better. And these guys are also history makers, right? Some of you who follow what goes on in Denver Public Schools know that Denver Public Schools Board of Education passed a resolution that recognizes the newly formed principals union. They can tell you more about that. And so they're getting ready to go into negotiations about what that means and what that looks like. But they've been recognized by the DPS Board of Education. And so these guys are also history makers. And so applaud them for what they're doing. And I'm going to ask them some questions about those things. And but here to join us already he's already jumped on, and one of the gems of Far Northeast, who we are glad to have him out here in the neighborhood, and no one can have him, right? So I just want to put that out there. You're going to hear his brilliance, and you're going to want to know his email address so you can try to snatch him away from us, but he's permanently ours. And so we appreciate what Nivan's doing over there at Maxwell. So let's welcome in my brother Nivan, principal at Maxwell Elementary. Nivan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Thanks, Pastor Jones. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man. So you are right in the thick of things.
Yeah, we're opening with a phased-in approach for kindergarten and first grade starting tomorrow. So we're kind of in the middle of running 3 schools, if you will. We got the remote classrooms that started the year. We've got a new classroom of virtual for those who've chosen the virtual option, and then in person for some of our youngest learners starting up tomorrow. Yeah.
Nivan, how I don't want to say how are you staying sane, but I want to say how are you managing that as a principal? They don't teach us that in principal preparation. Nobody had pandemic preparation on any course, right? Nobody had this on their radar. So how are you navigating this? Is there support from the district, or is this you and your team doing this? Are community partners coming alongside you? What's it like, bro?
Great questions. I think so. I'll start. I'm really proud to be the principal of Maxwell Elementary. Proud of our namesake.
The Dolphins, by the way, the Maxwell Dolphins. Let's call it out.
That's right. And we got, I'm going into my 7th year at the school. So I think that's one great strength, is I'm able to lean on relationships we've built over time, both in the community and within our school. I think one way that we're handling is just, we've got a phenomenal team. I've got 2 awesome assistant principals who work incredibly hard. I've got teachers and educators from EC all the way 5th grade who are stepping up in ways we've never had to step up before. And so I think that's one way that we're trying to work through all the different details, is just collaborating across our team. Got really great staff retention, which I'm proud of. And so teammates who've been at Maxwell for quite a while are able to step up to lead through this challenging time.
Yeah, man. So what are you seeing? What are you seeing from your team when you say step up in ways that you've never seen? What are some things that communities know that people are doing that they just never had to do that before, other than the remote? Like, what are teachers doing?
I mean, we had to, Maxwell's EC through 5, but in kinder through 5th, we have, 4 classes per grade level. We're having to look at where the numbers are for what families have chosen of in-person and virtual. And we've had to open up new sections of classes. So I have individuals who were typically a co-teacher who are stepping up to lead their own classroom. I have folks who, I have some teachers who, for example, a 4th grade teacher who's now going to be teaching 2nd grade. And that's not because I want to be shifting people around, it's because I need a 2nd grade teacher. And so I have teachers who are really stepping up to the challenges, are saying, where do you need me? Great, I'm there. Let's do it.
How have you found? I don't know if you know all the percentages. You don't have to give us exact percentages, but how has the response from families been? Do you have a majority that want to come back quickly? Is it split? What does it look like for you guys?
It's a majority coming back in person. I think we're a little over 50%, probably close to like 60% of our families. But that does leave over 200 families who have chosen the virtual option, just thinking that it's not safe. I think in talking with families, we've had lots of conversations, some town halls for the whole school. We have an incredible parent liaison and front office team and lots of other folks who are out there, communicating with families. And families really have great and thoughtful questions. Who will my child's teacher be if they go in person? Or if I choose remote, will they be instructed by a Maxwell educator? And the answer to that is yes, they'll have a Maxwell educator, but it's impossible for us to have the details align where a family always gets the same teacher they started the year with. Some are going virtual, some are going in person. So families are asking great questions. Most are wanting to come back in person.
Oh, that's good to hear. So now you're talk about those safety protocols. Like, I've been in your building, man. It is always full of life. It's always full of high fives and just love in the space. How has the space been transformed to manage the health requirements, but simultaneously not lose that Maxwell identity?
I mean, first off, huge shout out to our facilities team. Facilities team members across DPS are working incredibly hard. Ours are doing just incredible. I've got, Terrence Burgess is our FM. He rose our cleanliness scores for our building to the highest they've ever been in the history of Maxwell. So we just got an 88 on a quality assurance score, highest we've ever been. So first, I'll say folks are working incredibly hard every single day to disinfect and clean. But as far as space, I mean, that's one thing that we're talking to families about. School is not going to be the exact same like it normally is. In a typical school year, I high five every single child as they walk down that walk. Not only can we not high five in the same way, but we're going to have staggered times and locations so that we're never congregating large groups of students. Right. So I would say the amount of planning that's gone into making sure we can keep folks from not having to cross paths or cross cohorts in the building, it's a lot of thought partnership. And then also, we don't have all the details finalized. Like, we've got them as good as we can for tomorrow, but we're going to have to keep being flexible, keep adjusting as we get real-time info, how it's going.
Right. Man, it's amazing. I mean, I caught it. I snuck on.
You did.
The tail end of your team meeting today, and I'm just telling you the stuff that I saw. Let me just tell you, I always know you're brilliant. I know Liz is brilliant. Steve is brilliant. Great team there, right? And it was just amazing to see exactly what you said, that intentional coordination to keep kids safe, to keep staff safe. And you have been at the forefront of this, man. So, I applaud you. Like, you've been like Mr. Like, we're going to stay healthy and we're going to get through this together. And so I appreciate the hard work that you put in with this. But what's the frustrating part, man? Let's be real. What is the frustrating, the challenging part about where we're at? I mean, we get it. No one's been here before. No one in the district, nobody at the school level has been here. But COVID has definitely exposed some of our collective weaknesses, right? And I don't know if we're getting any better at them, or they're just becoming, larger, right? So, how could the district be supporting you more? How could communities be supporting you more? And those are two big enough questions right there. How could we be better as a district? How can we be better as a community to make sure that you're good, your teachers are good, the students are good at Maxwell?
I mean, I'll start with the community. In some ways, it's an easier question. I think knowing that there are such amazing things going on in the community, the safe spaces, the food handouts, the supplies, all the different things, I think the more that our community here in Montbello can coordinate and get the word out to parents, I think the more our parents will be well served. We know this pandemic has had a disproportionate effect on Black and brown people. We know that our community in Montbello is more highly impacted than some other places across Colorado. We want to get the absolute best to all of our families and across all of Montbello, not just Maxwell. So I think the community can keep doing what it's doing, amazing work of getting out resources, and then just communicating more, getting that communication across all schools, across all platforms in Far Northeast.
Yeah.
As far as the district, I mean, I think a challenge has been when we get a plan and then a plan changes, so I recognize there's a lot of details that change based on health data, change based on, the direction that the district may be going. I think for me as a school leader, we're often the first to have to implement something, and yet sometimes the last to hear about it. We'll hear about a change in the plan, an hour before it's sent out to teachers and community, which again, of course, we appreciate getting a little bit of a heads up, but Friday night, 6 p.m., 7 p.m. is not the time when new decisions should be being made. And so I think, and then I would just say longer term in this pandemic, there's some things the district has worked really hard and done a great job on. Hey, every kid needs a Chromebook. Phenomenal. We got to get every kid the Chromebook. Sometimes the coordination of efforts, it's hard to find exactly where the details are. How do I, as a building leader, get every one of my students the Chromebook that they need? And so coordinating the details and I think executional excellence where all the details come together, that would be an area where I would say we could use some more support.
Yeah, man, that's real. That's real. That's real. And I think that COVID has taught all of us. I mean, this planning, pre-planning, communication, over-communicated, right? Plan the scenarios. I mean, again, going back to me sneaking into you guys the last part of your meeting. There's no way that you do what you guys are doing today, Friday night at 6:00, and be ready for Monday. There's no way. That requires intentionality. That requires a lot of thoughtfulness. And I think everybody's learned that. It's sometimes you got to slow down to go fast, right? And so I think we have to continue, to your point, to give leaders, teachers, students, families, and community the time to say, okay, let's adjust. There's a shift. Let's get time to make sure we're all on the same page and then execute the play, right? Any of us who play sport, we understood that. I mean, the only time we went out playing sports and didn't have a play is when we weren't really playing the sport, right? We was out there just playing a quick pickup game when it didn't apply, and we didn't have a goal. But when you're trying to win, right, you got to have clear plays, everybody on the team.
You got to have a vision for what success looks like, and then backwards plan all the way up to that. How do we got to get to the number of points we have to win, or whatever the goal is? Yeah,
and that requires time. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that. So Nivan, now to that point, Eric's having some delay, so you get the questions right now.
All right, let's do it.
Principals Union, right?
Yeah,
Principals Union came through. I remember initial talks about this, and I think 200 plus some principals and APs have signed up for this. Some of those are I don't know if all those are existing, and some are maybe former who also.
All are existing, actually.
All are existing. Okay.
Last count, I believe, was 204. Don't quote me on that. It might be 201 or 204.
Yeah, 204 I heard at the meeting. Yeah.
Of the principals and assistant principals who are currently in their roles as principals or APs and DPS.
So I'm going to ask the tough question: how does a principals union improve things for kids?
It's not a tough question. It's really simple. As school leaders, we're the ones every day who see how things run in our buildings. We're able to support our teachers, the curriculum, our kids, get to know the students in the community and bring all those forces together. And so if we don't have a seat at the table, we're not able to influence how, even things with this pandemic, how are all the details coming together to support kids?
Yeah.
I don't know a single leader who's sitting there just saying, I'm the admin, that's my job, that's all I want to do is just sit back. No, we're here trying to make the details work for kids. And it shouldn't be, the system needs to work together to support principals and thereby kids in schools. We're the ones who see when the system doesn't. When transportation is too overloaded and over busy to pick up a student at their stop, and that student is not able to get to school, we see all those details. When choice and enrollment does not support, exactly where it doesn't really, it's not equity in action. It's got a lot of good terms and good ideas, but it's not working as a system. As school leaders, we see that, and so we need a seat at the table so we can say, especially to the Board of Education and senior leadership, hey, here's the way that this could be implemented so that students are actually served better. Or, hey, that's a great, title of the word equity, but we're actually seeing that these students that you're talking about are not actually getting served as well as we could. Here are some great ideas. That's how having leaders at the table could actually change things for kids.
Huge. And I think too, there was, as we've learned out here in the far Northeast and other places, not only that leaders they want to have voice on the front end, right? They want to be in the co-creation process of not just being dictated to, this is what you will implement. They want to be able to say, hey, we want to co-create some of the solutions based on what we know from the ground, right? We want to be able to inform back to you, hey, no, this is how it actually plays out, right? That transportation schedule looks great. It's all colorful and all that, but here's how it actually lays out. And we want to help you understand that. So I appreciate you saying that. Now, how do we avoid the principals union becoming a political tool, right? You know how it is. I mean, folks are going to say, like, how do we help it not lose sight of, we did this because we want the best things for kids?
I mean, I think you look at the intent of the 204 members that joined. That's why we came together. We want to make DPS better. And I mean, there's really some specific things that can be done that actually are not anywhere near like combative or negative in some of the ways that unions can get a bad rap. And I'll be honest, like I support unions. I support our teachers. I support our paraprofessionals. And as school leaders, us having a seat at the table so that we can give input on a budget that supports buildings and building-based staff, that only helps the community. As school leaders,
doesn't it seem crazy, Nivan, that we're talking about running the school district and principals are asking for a seat at the table? You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, and I can go back to my own history, and it, like that is troubling. Like when the school leader does not feel like they have voice in the larger delivery of education. It just seems like that should be commonplace. That should be the norm.
I mean, there are some research studies coming out saying in a time of crisis, who's the number one person in a school community that is trusted? And it's the principal. It's the building leader. I just read an article the other day where that was the title of the article. And not
especially if they have great hair like us.
Oh, thanks for trying to grow it long again.
Yeah.
But if that principal is unable to actually influence change and instead is just following through the policy that may not be the best, to support kids, or even if it's a great policy but the implementation plan, and I'd say this too. Look at the retention of principals, especially leaders of color and especially Black leaders in DPS. Like, our goal is to support leaders of color so that we don't have turnover. We can, obviously we want to recruit and hire new leaders and, teachers and people of color. Representation is incredibly important, especially in this day and age. But DPS shouldn't have to go and do tons of recruiting for the great leaders if we have great talent here. And instead of, like, I don't want to hear about great Black leaders, Latino leaders, Latinx leaders leaving DPS because the conditions are not to support them. We need to support our leaders so that we can support our kids. And building that longevity in schools, from Manuel and from being in the community for so long, if there are leaders who know the community and then build those connections and are like a center of what happens in their school, they're able to make things even better and better over time. Versus that turnover that's not good. It's not good for kids. It's not good for the community.
Yeah, and I know you and I rock this way, but I think what a lot of people are learning is education, when done best, is a community effort. It is about collectivism, right? It's not about it's not about people coming in who don't know us. It's actually people who do know us, right?
Right.
Who are doing life with us, who can best deliver upon some of the educational promises that are made, right? Strangers come in and do their drive-by teaching, drive-by leading. They come in and they're gone. You live in the community, right? I'm going to bump into you at the grocery store. And if, you didn't answer that question right at PTA, we're going to talk about it in aisle 7 at King
Right.
Soon,
Right. Right.
So there is some value to that. And I really appreciate you saying that, is that, one of the things that is I think very different to dominant culture, right, or supremacy ideology, is the fact that they don't see education that way, right? Education is more of a top-down kind of dictation, right? It's not organic and alive like we are with this community approach. And so, yeah, I mean, everything you just said there, man, is spot on. So,
that business model, right? The business model that can often be, many folks will associate with ed reform and coming in from outside of the community to run the schools or to close schools and open new schools. And I think, I'm not here to say one thing or another about a given school or direction. I think that has been the experience of many leaders in many school communities and DPS for far too long. And
right.
So I think school communities need that say in what happens in their school community. And I think it's time for it to be a truly representative voice, not a few folks who show up for a meeting and have the access and the ability to, volunteer their time. Anyway, I'm getting off there, but I think school leaders having that voice at the table are actually looking out for the best interest of their community. And I'll say this too, to your point about the union. I think if a school leader is not, that's another conversation that needs to be had. I'll say this for my own leadership. I've said it before to if I'm not getting it done for kids, give me some coaching, give me some support. But if I'm still not getting it done, I shouldn't be in the role.
Right.
It needs to be about supporting the students and that collective, that community approach.
Well, and I'm glad you said that, because, in when we're talking about other unions within, to your point, that get a bad rap, and I don't want to say some not even get a bad rap, some deserve it, right? Where you're talking about unions that protect mediocrity, that protect, we're looking at police brutality, and it seems like certain folks are protected, right? That the union is set up to defend those folks. You're not talking about setting up a principal union that's going to protect bad leaders, right? Mm-hmm. That's not the intention of this. And the intention of this is to be at the table proactively, so that the things that are getting done are actually the best things for kids. That's what you're saying.
And the way in this, and like you said, the things that are getting done, like in our space in DPS, but in education in general, there's policy, and then there are directives, and a lot of them are top down, and then there's the implementation of those things.
Right.
And you think about some of the groundbreaking, honestly, things that the Board of Ed has done recently. Gender neutral bathrooms, that's huge. I think that's a really progressive step that our district has taken. The Black Excellence Resolution, that's incredible. What a really strong resolution. I think, though, as leaders, if we have a seat at the table, we can say this resolution passed, but just having leaders turn in a planning document that's, however many pages about Black excellence, that's pretty different than actually going to the table or going to bat for your Black kids and teachers in your community. It's very different than saying, are you as a school community actually addressing and doing something about systemic white supremacy? And if not, what can or will you do? And so I think that planning part can be really important, I'm so proud the board passed that. What I want to do is be able to collaborate with other leaders across the district, and to have a way to say, let's actually do something in the implementation.
Most definitely. You got to say, it's got good policy, has got to yield good practice, right? Because if it's just good policy, we can all put good policy on paper, right? Put it in a resolution. We can put it in a UIP. We can put all that good stuff on paper. But if it never moves to practice, it never is the best thing for kids.
Right. I mean, you can take the no justice, no peace. And so being I saw you there at the school last Friday.
Hey, baby.
And I mean, what an awesome and historic moment for DPS. And then you look at the first 15 minutes of last Thursday's board meeting, September 24th. I encourage anybody who's watching, go look at that. That was honestly about the most inspiring 15 minutes of anything that I've seen in as long as I can remember. And I told it to Kim Grayson and the team at DMLK. Like, so having a resolution like that that's led from the community, having an awesome leader like Kim Grayson able to bring it to the table and say, DPS, we got to do better. And then to say, we will lead it in our school and we'll lead the way right now. Let's make it happen. So it's not just a policy that lives in the policy space. Go look it up on board docs. It's a policy that says, did your kid have history curriculum this year? Well, great. It better have been this or this or this. And if it's not, we're not meeting that policy. And so actually implementing the way that the policy was written for is what we can do as school leaders.
Yeah, that practice is huge. That being able to put it into practice is huge. And so I echo what you said 1,000%, is that it cannot just be touchy-feely policy on paper. We've got to be able to move it to practice. And I think that's exactly what you said. And Bobby was in the comments, was talking about the gender neutral bathrooms. And Bobby, I will send you the board resolution on that. That gives you better explanation. But Nivan, you want to talk about what that means in your school when you talk about the gender neutral bathrooms, how you've implemented that in your space?
I mean, the gender neutral bathrooms is one small thing, knowing that students who, however they identify, have a bathroom that they can go, whether the student is at the point where they're already identifying as a trans person or questioning, or they're on a, they're learning. Like we want students to feel included in all of our buildings. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Vernon, it was back in, was it last February or January? So it was a while back. DPS passed a resolution that there must be at least one gender neutral bathroom in every building.
Right.
I would say that resolution is like a very low like stepping stone. Really what we should have is buildings where students are, like every part of their identity is seen as a value add, a pro part of the community. Like we're pro Black, we're pro Latinx, we're pro LGBTQ. Intersectional justice is the only place where we can be. Like we have to be moving towards there. And so gender neutral bathrooms, one small step. I will say this too though, like the gender neutral bathrooms have gotten a lot of pushback from some folks who are not as supportive of the LGBTQ community.
Bobby said your explanation makes more sense. You did a good job. You did a good job, right? You did a great job.
Yeah.
That. And I think too, what folks need to understand is like, our schools are our community, right? Everybody's there, right? And so to your point, when you're in a school building, we used to call it equal humanity. Like everybody shows up and we celebrate everybody. Everybody comes in and there's no greater, there's no less. We embrace everybody that comes into this building. We meet you right where you're at so that we can accomplish the, hey man, that's a good book right there.
You know that book?
Yeah.
What you're saying makes Dr. Bettina Love. This is the best book I've read in the longest time. She talks about home spaces, school being that place where like it's the center of the community. And in many places in our society, we've moved away from that. That's where we have to move back to.
Right. And I want to say that's what I feel every time I come into Maxwell, man.
Appreciate that a lot.
No, I feel that. And even kids who I've had a chance to sit with who are having challenging times at Maxwell, they still feel like they're at home. Like they don't feel like, I'm less than, I'm not as important. They feel like I'm having a rough moment. And guess what? At home, you can have a rough moment, right?
Yeah.
And still be embraced and still be cared for, still be supported. And so, man, you're doing good work. You're doing good work. And so these are supposed to go till 5:30. It's 5:30, man. You dropped some knowledge on us, and I appreciate you doing that. And appreciate you carrying the load tonight for Eric too, man. He said, man, he just had a day, right? And we appreciate that. We said we appreciate, when you have a day. So Nivan, what would you say to your peers who are leading schools in DPS, APS, Cherry Creek right now who are listening? What would you say to them as they continue to lead forward during this period where we've never been before, right? What advice would you give them about self-care? Because I get on you about this too, right? What would you give them advice about self-care and then also caring for their team?
I'll start with the caring for the team. It's a place that I started from all the way back when the pandemic started, and a place that I still try to live every day is like the safety of our team. Dr. Chris Emden.
Yeah.
He has a great quote, came out last like April or something, basically on the lines of like, you can't expect educators who don't feel safe to create spaces where kids feel safe. His quote is better than my paraphrasing. But I think that's, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Staff need to feel safe and cared for. And I may not have all the details or all the perfect answers. I for sure don't. But if like prioritizing staff safety allows us to prioritize student safety and community safety. And so I think that's let's all as leaders continue to do that. If our educators feel safe, we're creating spaces for students where they can be welcomed at school. As far as self-care, I'm
now,
not.
This is the answer I'm waiting on. This is the brother accountability. I tricked you on this one so I can hold you accountable for this later.
I think I got to do better. I think we all got to do better. It's tough times, and it's not like it's about to get easier in the next week, So I think we got to find those things that make us tick. For me, I'm so blessed to have a 1-year-old daughter, and just the moment where I get to spend with her, it's not as long in the day as I'd like to.
You said one, bro. It's gone that fast.
I mean, she's 18 months.
It's like, whew.
But like finding those moments to be present, I'll be honest, I'm not as good at it as I need to be. And so just really focusing there. The best advice I got, though, and I'll share this with other leaders, I got this when I was a second grade teacher in Charlotte, North Carolina. My assistant principal, Rosa Knight, I came to her one day. I was exhausted. It was a long day of teaching and learning. I didn't feel like I had made the impact I wanted to. And she said, if you did the best you can with everything you know how to do today, that's all you can ask for yourself. There's something about like the specific way she phrased it. It wasn't just like try your best, but if you did everything you can with everything you know how to do, that's all you can ask for yourself. And I think I'm leaving a lot of days in this period where I did the best I can with all the details, all the things I can. And so that's all I can ask, and we'll get up tomorrow and do better, do more.
That's real. Man, I thank you for your brotherhood. Thank you, man, for that we're in this work together. Glad that we get to continue to, grapple and try to do the best things for our community and for kids. And I just thank you for what you're doing. And thank you for taking out 30 minutes, to chat with the community and let us know how what it looks like from the front lines. And so what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite cookie or anything that you like to snack on there?
I'm an ice cream fiend.
Favorite ice cream?
I like strawberry, caramel, all of it.
There you go. If you want to encourage a school leader, just send them some strawberry ice cream, right?
There you go.
But I think you're trying to lose the baby weight, though, isn't that what?
I am. So I gotta try and lay off a little bit. Anyway,
I kept my baby weight on for 20 years, bro. So
there you go.
Look, Nivan, I appreciate you, man. I honor you, respect what you guys are doing at Maxwell. Thank you for letting me plug in. Thank you for just this continued relationship back and forth to challenge each other, to encourage each other, and to hold each other accountable for that self-care. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, man. Back to that, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
So that was it, man. That's Principal Nivan at Maxwell Elementary School joining us here on our weekly education circle conversation. Some great rich stuff that he said there just about what the front lines look like as they get prepared to welcome more students back into in-person learning in Denver Public Schools. Heard some great things about, what his school is doing well, what the district is doing well, areas that we still have to grow. And I conclude from this too, is that in all of this, give each other grace, right? Give each other grace to say, okay, we're in uncharted territories. We're in spaces we've never been in before. I love that. I told somebody the other day, I love the fact that we're overwhelmed because it makes us, if we're wise, it helps us understand that we need each other, right? And I'm loving the silos that I'm seeing broken. I'm loving the fact that folks are having to reach across, reach outside their offices or reach outside their schools and really come together and say, how do we do the best things for kids? How do we do the best things for adults as well, right? And so I appreciate Nivan. I appreciate Eric. Appreciate all of those school leaders and teachers who are out there on the front lines doing this on a daily basis. And so community, you heard him. He appreciates his community at Maxwell. He says this is very much a community thing. So engage, see how you can be of service to your school. See how you can support what we are doing on the front lines for students. And I believe on the other side of this, we're going to be better. I believe on the other side of this, we're going to have a new way of doing education that I believe will meet the needs of the diverse learners that we have. You know, I know some kids are thriving during remote learning. I know some kids who are like, dude, I hate it. Let me get back to this, in person. And then I know some kids who are like, you know what? I kind of like the blend. I like to be able to decide if I'm going to go in or if I'm going to do it online. Right. So I think we can innovate. We can move forward in education and do the best things for kids. So thank you for joining us on our weekly education conversation circle. Next week, we've got some great folks joining us from our leaders in the charter world, right? Who are going to be on talking about things that they're doing during this remote learning process and how they are leading, how they are supporting. And it should be another great conversation here on our weekly education circle conversation. So thank you for joining us. You can learn more about what we're doing at FaithBridge at www.faithbridgeco.org. That's www.faithbridgeco.org. All right. You guys have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon.